that's a moment, seeing the team lift the trophy. Because I had that, I had 7 weeks of intense, like having focus of this is my training, this is what I'm going to do, and then got the job done. He has got the authority in terms of he will draw you in with the way he speaks, but also when he needs to lay a little marker, he can turn it up to a little bit of a shout.
Welcome back to the Blue Rising podcast, your home of all things Blues. My name is Will Brazier, and of course I am joined by my best friend in the whole world. It's Tommy Rooney. Tommy, you okay?
I'm very well, thanks, Will. How are you?
Thought you'd be on holiday now, but you're still with me. You must be delighted.
Absolutely, yeah. You're keeping me off the golf course, but I'm really enjoying it.
Exactly, but we are delighted to welcome a man that played for 2.5 seasons for us and some very memorable moments. Please welcome Curtis Davies. Curtis, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. You mentioned him not going on holiday. He's sure got a tan though, isn't he?
It's a golf tan now, mate.
Yeah.
It's a golf tan.
Take it whichever way you can get
it's
it.
Arms, head, legs, that's it.
And beds? You've been on the beds?
No, I haven't been on the beds.
All right, okay, I'll keep that one off camera then.
I thought you were talking about sunbeds there. I was like, no, give me a couple of weeks. I'll be on one.
Curtis, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good. Yeah.
How do we find you in life? Obviously, you've been doing stuff on Sky, punditry. Yeah. Obviously, you had... I want to talk about Blues, but let's start with Hull. You were there for the playoff final. How's it all been?
It was good, yeah. It was really good. Having seen what Hull have done this year, I know we're on a Birmingham podcast, of course, but having seen what they did this season, massively overachieved to even be anywhere near the playoffs, to be honest, after staying up in goal difference last year. And you're thinking they'll fall away, even though, you kind of have heart and hope that they will do it. And then once they got in, my biggest thing, I thought Southampton would win the playoffs. I thought just because of their momentum, they would win it. Fortunately, they were knocked out, and it was Borough. And not that Borough was ever an easy game, but I knew Hull were going to stink the place out and make it really difficult for Borough. I know Borough that struggled to take their chances. And on the day, the one chance that fell to the main man, Ollie McBurney, he put away, and Hull find themselves in the Premier League, like I say, just a year after staying up on goal difference last year. So
obviously you're fully retired now.
Yep.
How have you found the punditry? We've seen you a few times at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. How have you found all that?
I've really enjoyed it. It's the only industry where, not being a coach or a player, where I'm still having football conversations. I'm still at the table having chats with players, managers, wherever it is. I do agency work as well. So in terms of when they talk about retiring, it's always about your mental health, in terms of you can go into a job and work 9 till 5. But if you don't have that football fix, it's a totally different thing. So even if you keep yourself busy, if you don't have that football fix, it's tough. But I'm still having that level of football banter. Obviously a bit more PG because you're on a hot mic a lot of the time.
When the mic's off.
Yeah, but when the mic's off, we go for it. No,
exactly.
but yeah, I've really enjoyed my new career, and looking to always get better and keep expanding at that.
How have you replaced the dressing room? Because that's what I miss.
Yeah.
It's the banter in the dressing room.
Yep. No, but that's...
No. Will thinks he's my dressing room replacement. He's not. He couldn't take dressing room banter.
It's impossible to replace it. I think what you just said there, everyone thinks, playing at Old Trafford or playing wherever, at a Newcastle, like a big atmosphere or somewhere like that, is all of a sudden, that's the thing you miss. It's actually not. Like, the big games were brilliant. The only time I've ever really missed football is at the playoff finals, because that's a moment, seeing the team lift a trophy. But in general, it's the day-to-day in the change room, the banter, people's gear, like wherever it is, like someone's got dodgy shoes, cutting people's socks, whatever it is, like that's the stuff you miss. As much as sometimes used to wind you up if someone's doing it to you, that's what you miss, because it was just like that brought the team together, the camaraderie, and then that's what, when you go out on a Saturday, that's the bit that people don't see. You can do as much training as you want on the field and get the tactics. The bit you build the relationships is in the changing room, where he'll go to war for me and I'll go to war for him, and that's the bit you do miss, and it has been hard to replace. But I think you just try and find yourselves, like I say, in as many positive situations that, I guess, like I say, being in the football environment, having good chats and kind of having reminders about the changing room, sometimes that helps you a little bit to get a little bit of feedback from someone else. It helps you get that little bit of a tingle back, but not being part of it, of course.
What about the winning and losing? Because I took up golf heavily because I needed a few nerves stood over a little putt to win a match or something like that. I found that by accident.
Yeah.
But it was still something I really struggled with when I finished, was that no winner or loser. It's not the same beating the kids at Monopoly, is it?
Yeah, I struggle with that side of it, because the only thing I've done is boxing. So I did the boxing with Paddy Kenny, knocked him out first round. No, but I did the boxing with Paddy Kenny. That's the first time where I trained with Mad Dog at his gym as well, and he was brilliant. So, because I had that, I had 7 weeks of intense, like having focus of this is my training, this is what I'm going to do, and then got the job done. Then afterwards, it's kind of like, what now? So my big thing is that's what I struggle with. I did have a daughter after retirement, so I had my 4th daughter. So I've not wanted to get into paddle or get into golf because the itch will get there, and I'll want to make sure I scratch that itch.
Yeah.
But if I'm getting daggers from the missus because the little one needs there, then got the girls are getting dropped off the dancing, then yeah, I just thought I'll stay away from it for now. I'm enjoying life anyway, and basically my kids are my hobby at the moment, really.
Because the agency stuff as well, have you almost got a fix from that as well, like part and advice onto players?
That's exactly it. So where I get the no pressure of the TV stuff, because there's no pressure in terms of, as long as I don't say something stupid, I'm not going to get hammered, basically.
It's very hard. I find it very hard. You always tell me, Tom, don't you?
In general, whether you've got a microphone in front of you or not.
But whereas, the difference between being a coach or a manager is what I say or what I do means that, 30,000 fans are going home happy or sad that weekend. So in terms of the no pressure side of it, just enjoying it, being able to give your opinion, and because I've done it for years, it's been quite seamless. And then the agency stuff just gives you that more connected side where, again, no pressure on it, but being able to mentor players, give them advice on, if you've got 3 options of a club, what club is the best fit for you as a player? What's this manager like? I played with that manager. I played against this player. All the little things that they do, even like I've gone through clips with players like a coach would do. And I love that. I love it when they say, I want to go through my clips. I'm like, yeah, buzz in. Because then I get that kind of coaching fix. But it has to come from them. That's the big thing. I'm not ever going to be the player that, the agent that was, I did this as a player, I did that as a player, you should do this. No, because everyone's got their own journey and everyone's at a different level. So it's nice to have players, like I say, when they want feedback, when they want to work with you, when they appreciate what you've done in your career, that they want you to help guide them. I think that's something that does give me a great bit of joy as well.
Because one man that's part of it is Erin Cashin part of yours. Obviously, he was at Blues for that first part. I think in his eyes, he'd have wanted like the full season in the first team. Is that like where you sort of step in around there as well, sort of offering advice and? Yeah,
because I think with Cash, having come here in the summer, I thought it was going to be a really good one for him and for Blues. Blues were always looking for that left-sided centre half and everything. And I think from what I've got to believe from Cash is when he came in, he thinks he maybe just got here too late. Because what Chris is like, Chris is so detailed in everything that he wants to do. Chris wanted him a bit of time to get up to speed with the detail. Yeah. And he maybe not struggled, but in terms of, in Chris's eyes, he didn't get it quick enough.
He was playing catch-up, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was playing catch-up. And he was quite honest that when he did get a chance against Sheffield Wednesday, he made a couple of mistakes. So he was very honest with that as well. So, and then obviously it's just a shame that towards the end of the season when he got in the team, he actually, end of his time here, he started doing really well. He was playing left back and left centre half, and he was doing really well. But the biggest thing for him was ultimately when you're on a loan, you want to play. Like, it doesn't matter where, and it's about keeping your market. So we actually had interest from top European teams for him because of his Irish passport. He's able to go across Europe. So, but my idea and what I thought was better was to go to Blackburn, because you go to Blackburn, you're in the Championship where your bread and butter is, kind of thing. You're going to be seen by all the eyes of the other Championship teams or even Premier League teams, whatever. And you can go there and just be a defender again. And that's why he thrived. He went there, he got player of the month the first 2 months. And then he had a really good season that they're desperate to have him back. But I think Brighton have got different ideas, and that's always the part of it. Whilst I might have an idea, he's got a parent club that have also got an idea as well. So I think it's make sure those relationships are strong and trying to get the right thing for Cash, be it permanent or loans.
Right, let's get into it because I want to chat all things Birmingham City with you. You find yourself at a club whose name I can't mention on this podcast. But where at that time you'd been there a few years, you sort of in and around the pecking order of that centre-back position. When it's that January, are you very much just looking to get out and play and, almost sort of like we've talked with Erin there of like getting out and playing? Yeah,
so the long and short of my time there was I'd signed from West Brom. I wasn't in the team at first. I had a slight injury. Then I got in the team at Christmas after 9 games with an England squad. And then I ruptured my Achilles. Okay, ruptured my Achilles, come back from that, played another 30 games the next season in the Premier League. Got an England squad properly this time, on the bench against Germany. We finished 6th, okay. And then the next season, I unfortunately did my shoulder at the start of the season after scoring at Anfield. So that was my last league game for that club. Unfortunately, during that time, they brought in 2 other centre-halves. Because of those 2 centre-halves, I came back in January and I was like, listen, I know I'm not going to get in the team. There's 4 centre-halves ahead of me. Let me go on loan. The manager said no. No, you're going to be part of it. And then what they did is had me kind of in and around it until the January window shut, and then I was in the stands. So that was frustrating. But that carried on all the way until the new manager came in. So I think there's a little bit of politics with certain clauses in my contract and clauses that West Brom would have been owed money.
Right. Okay.
But instead of just addressing that and just telling me to go, they kind of dragged it out. And then in the end, I got a loan to Leicester. So around October, I got a loan to Leicester. And actually, when I came back from Leicester, I was always wanting to go back there, if I'm being totally honest. I was always wanting to go back there because Sven had... And the way I describe it is, if you've starved for a week and someone gives you a cracker, that cracker's going to be the best meal you've ever had in your life. And I'd been starved of football whilst being fit for pretty much the best part of a year. So for me, it was like Sven called for me by name, asked for me by name. And then when I got there, he just said to me, go and express yourself. I know what you can do. And that's a former England manager saying that to me. So me, having not played for so long, loved my time there, played 12 games, really enjoyed it. And then come the January, went back to the club.
They do very well.
Yeah. And then basically they kind of just had me in a holding pattern to see whether they were going to sell me or whether I was going to have to go back on loan. And then basically I'd signed to go out on loan to Leicester on the 28th, I think it was. So I'd actually signed the papers, got back home. My agents rung me 100 times, said, don't go into Leicester tomorrow, that you're going to Blues. We've got a medical at Blues tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. So got all the medical done and then got it done quite quickly.
So wow. But well done for not saying the name, and it's a great brief history. But in terms of that move, like obviously you wanted to go back to Leicester, but you say you're going to Birmingham. Like, had you spoke to Alex McLeish at this time? Had you spoke to anybody?
No, literally.
I just sorry to interrupt, but you want to go back to Leicester because they're caring about you,
and
you're playing.
Like I say, having the mental side of the game, and again, I don't like talking too strongly on mental health because I think sometimes people don't understand the difference between being depressed and being upset. I think that was the only time in my career where I was depressed because I was having personal problems in my home life. So I didn't have that to pick up my football life, and then I didn't have football to pick up my home life. So I think that's the only time in my life I was depressed. So when Sven gave me that carrot, and for 12 games, I got to just go and express myself and enjoy it. It's like a kid playing Sunday League, just because I just loved every moment of it. So it was like I really wanted to go back there to that environment, and I wanted to keep that positive feeling for myself. And I was willing to do that.
You're used to playing week in, week out. You don't get to the amount of games that you played without playing every week.
Yeah. Well, before I got to the club, I'd played from starting the first game of the season at Luton in 2004-05 season. I'd been on the bench once in 3 seasons, and that was only my first game when I signed for West Brom. So, like in terms of, I'd been used to being in the team.
That routine.
Yeah, and if I was injured, okay, I wasn't in the team when I was injured, but when I came back, I was in the team. Yeah. So that's why it was a bit tough for me to take the first part, but I got over it. And then you start, like I say, you start getting yourself into England squads and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, you're not in that anymore in that team. Therefore, the England stuff goes, then your stock starts going down, and it was tough. But I think with this opportunity, I didn't actually speak to Alex. It was just kind of, listen, it's around the corner. it's local. It's a club that is trying to do things in the right way, and Scott Dan had just done his hamstring, so it was like I've got to have a good chance of playing, which ended up turning out that wasn't the case.
You need to ask your question about Curtis making his first thing to Birmingham. In terms of, did you get taken to Wasdales or?
Common theme from many eras back is when you come into the club, nobody ever takes a new player to Wasdales. Yeah. It was always the manager's house or the stadium.
I think David Davies was a Toby Carvery. I think it was just keep him away from that.
So how did
food is away to his heart?
Yeah. How did it come about? So you get the call. You've seen all of the missed calls from your agent.
So I was literally next day straight to the stadium.
Stadium, not West Hills.
So straight to the stadium. Yeah, like listen, I've come through at Luton, so West Hills is a palace compared to Luton. We used to get changed at the ground and have to drive across, put the nets up for the first team and all that. So in terms of my grounding, I wasn't bothered. I just wanted to play football. It's
making me twitch a little bit. The Luton mentions, obviously, because of my Watford days.
But I'm allowed to mention that one, Luton.
Yeah.
Just not the other one.
Yeah, just making me.
And he's just knocked out Paddy Kenny, mate. So just be careful.
Yeah, that's fine. I played with Paddy. Most people have knocked him out. He's like a weeble.
So you go there, and obviously, like you said, obviously Scott, because that partnership at that time, Roger and Scott was like the brick wall for us. Ben in behind as well. So have you been told you initially are going to play, and then obviously because Martin Urinak was here as
basically, I just got told, come here, you're going to play. Scott's done on his hamstring, simple as that. And then what happened is when I arrived, I had a slight, again, do you know one of those kind of, like Tommy, you'll know, you like got like a slight groin tweak, like you've got a few fibres that have maybe, but I didn't know about that. Joe, I didn't actually know about it, so I'd been training fine and everything and no issues, but didn't know about it. But because they do the scans, obviously, this has flagged up. So what they said is have a couple of weeks with the physios and just get strong, and then we crack on. But obviously in that time, we win the Carabao or whatever it was, Carling Cup at the time.
Yeah.
And then my biggest thing, I think, with Alex is I really got on with him as a guy, but in terms of, I just think he always wanted to do his best to get back to that team when we were struggling.
Yeah.
You know, I think, like, I look at it and I'm looking at the bench that I was on. And it's like myself, Kev Phillips, Zigic, David Bentley, Alexander Hleb, Obafemi Martins. And I'm like, with all due respect to the players in the team, they are all gritty, good players. But if you tell me David Bentley can't get in our team, if you tell me Alexander Hleb can't get in our team, if you tell me Obafemi Martins can't get in our team, like, why do you have those players there? And that was my big thing. I think it was always wanting to get back to it. And I think the culmination of trying to get back to something was, I never forget when we were going towards the end of the season and we were going up to Liverpool for that game where we lost, I think 5-0 it was, wasn't it? All week, Ridgie was injured. I think Ridgie had got a knock. Martin Urinak had been out with his toe for 4 or 5 weeks, so hadn't trained or anything. So all week, Kari's been saying to me, get your head on it, you're playing this weekend. Get your head on it, you're playing this weekend. So, as I would, you get your head down, cracking on. Then even in the shape, as much as they don't name the team, you're in the shape and all that kind of stuff. And then, literally, on the Friday, Martin comes out and does a little bit of the light session with us. But I thought, okay, fair enough, he's getting back to it. And then he's on the bus, and I thought, fair play to the gaffer, keeping everyone together, blah, blah. Like, yeah, that's really good. Like, nothing said to me at all. And I'm not saying managers have to pull you in and mollycoddle you. I'm not about that. But the fact I've been in the shape and all that. And then basically we get to in the hotel, and as we're about to leave, the half an hour before you get to the stadium, the gaffer turns over the sheet and I'm looking for my name. I can't see it. Martin Urinak playing centre half with Roger. And I'm like, my head's fully gone. Like, because again, I've come here being told I was going to play. I've not. And then this is the chance now to kick on again and try and have a good back end to the season. And that was denied from me. And I just never forget, like, I was really petulant, really sulky because I was there and I was like, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? And that's really sad because having had those highs of going back to Leicester and getting the feel for it again, I felt like this had doubled me down again. But yeah, so I just remember sitting there in the changing room at Anfield, and the gaffer was sat right next to me because I was number 32. So I'm the last in terms all the way around, and then it's the staff, and the gaffer sat right next to me, and I literally didn't say a word to me. I was just sat there, just texting my family like, yep, this is rubbish, whatever, blah blah. All the stuff like petulant kid.
But it is difficult to take for a player that's been in every team pretty much until the injury stuff. Yeah. For the one previous. Yeah. It's difficult. Because your match day is why you work Monday to Friday. You work as hard as you can for that match day. Yeah. And to take that away from a footballer, I always think sometimes it's harder not being selected than it is if you're injured. Because if you're injured, you're not playing.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think what I could say is that's exactly it. So when I was injured with my shoulder, or even when I've done my Achilles and that, I know I can't be out there. So even though I have the high tension of I can't affect it, I know I physically can't be out there. Whereas naturally, we're all better players when we're not playing, aren't we? Oh, I could have done that. I could have done this. But my big thing about that game was, it wasn't about Martin Juranic as an individual. It was just the fact that you're putting in a player that's going to be out of sorts. As centre half, it's tough to get you up to speed in a game at Anfield. You know, we're not talking about, you know, potentially playing against more direct team where you just need to be physical and strong. We're talking about Anfield with Sturridge and all. Do you know what I mean? All these players that you're having to, well, actually Sturridge wasn't there yet, but I can't remember who the strikers were at the time. But yeah, we go to that game, and like I said, you're watching the game from the sidelines, and I'm like, flipping out, what's going on? Like, and we lose the game 5-0. And my big context of the game is, I don't say that me being in the team means we go and win that, but I don't think we lose 5-0.
No.
I just think because mentally and physically, I would have been in a better position to help on some of those areas.
He's still new to the league at that point as well, isn't he?
But the knock-on effect from that, and this is why it always sits in my mind so much, is last day of the season when I'm playing, I'm in the team at Tottenham, last game of the season, and there's been a goal here, there's been a goal there, and all of a sudden, we now, because we're going down on goals scored by Wolves, me and Roger are going up for the goal kick, then trying to run back, going up for the goal kick. If we'd lost that game 3-0, we'd have stayed up.
Yeah.
And that's always my biggest thing. That's like, I know it's all ifs and buts, and if my aunt had, she'd be my uncle. But it does that. That's the way I am as a player. It's always the moments that define the season for me were Liverpool and Tottenham.
Yeah.
And the Liverpool game, like I say, we lose that 3-0. The Tottenham game's a different thing. We can hold on for the draw. Tottenham weren't going for anything. We could hold on for the draw. But because me and Roger going up front, Pavlyuchenko goes in the breakaway, scores. And then we lose 2-1.
Yeah.
So that's always been a big thing in my head.
No, in terms of that, did you ever sort of feel that? Do you think McLeish was basically trying to go back to that? Because obviously the first season, I think we finished 9th in the Premier League. Do you very much think he was holding that in his head of just get that core back together?
It's like what I was just speaking about, positive feeling, like that kind of loving. I think maybe the love he had for that group, because again, the season before finished 9th, but from what I've got told, it could have been better season. He was giving them days off and stuff like that. So, you know, because they'd done so well for him, like giving them 2 days off here, 3 days off there, they could have maybe finished higher. But that was a great finish. But I think in his head, it was like, well, that they were his lieutenants, they were his soldiers, which I totally understand. Managers have those kind of players, and I do get it. It's only because of the fact I signed in January and I'm told you're going to play. Yeah. That's my only thing. If you say you're going to come in and fight for your place with Martin Juranic, and then I have a decision to make, then I'm like, well, do I want to fight for my place, or do I want to just take the Leicester loan, which I wanted anyway?
Yeah.
So that's the more thing. It's when, again, my biggest thing is I've got no divine right to play. It's when I'm given false promises. I kind of stand on a little bit of, and again, if I'm getting a team and I'm poor, that's fine. But it's kind of that's where I kind of draw the line on my attitude towards it.
Well, let's draw a line under that season, because it finished in relegation, sadly, and then complete changes all
wholesale
over the park.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about the manager position, because Alex McLeish, ironically, and some other words I could throw in there, goes to and Chris Hughton comes in. What impact did he have immediately? Did you have chats with him? Did you were promises made and kept?
So Chris was just brilliant, because he's got I knew Chris before a little bit, but got a really calming nature. He has got the authority in terms of he will draw you in with the way he speaks, but also when he needs to lay a little marker, he can turn it up to a little bit of a shout. But Chris was just brilliant, because the group we'd lost obviously 12, 13 of the starters, let's just say, you know. So it's kind of bare bones of what was left. And then the ones that were left, you know, Scott Dam was recovering from injury, played a couple of games before he was sold. Cammy played a couple of games before he was sold, and that was it. It was a whole new team. So then Chris came in, and the good thing for him is he didn't have any pre-perception of anyone, because the whole new team was built. And if anything, I was
clean slate, isn't it?
I was one of the longest standers. You know, you've got people like Berkey coming in that McLeish signed. Obviously, we had Caldwell, we had Pablo Ibanez, we had all these players coming through the door. Then we have obviously the likes of the Nathan Redmonds, the Jordan Mutches, that now, because all of those have gone, can step up and start making a name for themselves. But obviously the funny thing was we're going into a season where, yes, we're thinking about the Championship, having lost all those players, but we're in Europe. So that was like where it was just became a reality of, hang on, we need to get going really quick because we've got no players. We've got this qualifier in Europe against Nacional, be it 3 weeks into pre-season, wherever it is. We need to be at it if we want to qualify. And it was really good the way it's turned around. And those young lads were unbelievable during that. Because, again, stepping into a club that's just been relegated, high expectancy of needing to go back up again, but then playing in Europe as well, they were all fantastic.
But how did that change for you, really? You're a leader in the dressing room. You'd had the season previous almost bit part player when you expected to come in and be playing. Then everybody goes, you're now one of the strong characters in the dressing room, younger players coming in. Did that get you the feeling now that this is why I came to the club?
Yeah, I think once you get the feel, and like I say, I think there was always going to be, in terms of my time, my early part at the club was always going to be a bit iffy in terms of how fans were going to take me having come from across the road. So if you go off and do really well, they don't think, but because of coming from across the road, it's always going to be a bit, they sent the spy over, they sent the decoy over, the fake one or whatever. So I get that.
There'd been a few of them though, hadn't there? There's a few
like,
in that
obviously
point,
in the team when I first signed, there was Ridgie and Kev that played, and they played for all three teams I'd played for in the Midlands. So I get it. But this was a season for me. I was like, it's the Championship. I'm too good for the Championship, and that was my mindset. I'm too good for the Championship. I proved it last year in 12 games at Leicester. Too good for the Championship. I'm going to show it again this year, and I'm going to get us back up. And that was my mindset, and that was it. And I like, again, selfishly, whatever you like, that was my mindset. You're going to come with me, basically. And that was it. And then, with the young lads, I always loved the young lads. Again, I was a bit younger then, but I loved bouncing off the young lads, loved their energy. But actually, they were good players. They're not young lads that, they're just around it. Like Nathan Redmond, Jordan Much, brilliant players. Jordan Much set up my first goal on the opening day of the season for my first goal for Birmingham. So yeah, really good players, really good group. And but yeah, it was knowing you have to get down to business now because there's no crying about last season. None of them are left. It's just like I'm one of the last people left in terms of seniors. Yeah. So I'm going to need to carry something and carry some weight of it and help us go forward, which I was happy to do.
But Chris was allowed to bring in players that he wanted, knowing a European season is, it's hard enough, the Championship.
Yep.
But if you've got, which is rare for a Championship team to be in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is it. But with Chris as well, that he was a little bit fortunate with that as well. In terms of he had the knack, and when you talk about man management, it's not the 11. The 11 in the team are always happy because you're playing. You don't give a monkeys. If the gaffer shouts at you, but you play next week, you don't care. But he had a knack. He kept the whole 23, 24 happy. He was able to, because in Europe, like there were times where I weren't happy because I've gone to Bruges, travelled out there, done everything. Gaffer's left me in the stands, give me a rest. Gaffer, I don't need a rest. I'm 26. I want to play in these games, blah, blah. But I understand it because you need to give other people opportunities, and that's what happened. So when we came back from a European game, we might have a few changes, and it was just a way that he was able, just as people might get frustrated, they're in the team. And it was really, really good, that side of it. We also had a run to the FA Cup 5th round where we had 2 replays, which meant, you've played 5 games in that competition. We obviously went out in the Carling Cup, defending the Carling Cup. Unfortunately, in the 3rd round, played Man City. But we played 62 games that season, so it was a lot easier to keep people on side. But also with the way that he was, it was a match made in heaven.
Just taking it back to that pre-season, obviously we speak about the wholesale change with the manager and then players coming in and out of that. At that time, we've got an owner, Carson Young. Yeah. It was at that time when I think he was first arrested and all this stuff going on about that. You've come here to try and have a bit of stability. Obviously, relegations happen, and then that's happening above. Are you like, what the hell is going on here?
I always knew the rumblings of kind of what was going on in the background a little bit. We knew there was a few issues.
He looked like a Bond villain, so that should have been a red flag.
I think once you knew what Ziggy's contract was, I think you knew that there was something funny going on.
We had Robbo in here a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And he described it really well. He was easy money.
Yeah, easy money, big money. Easy money, big money. That's what you say. Like Ziggy, again, talking about Ziggy, like, again, he was one of the ones that was a survivor of the relegation, but no one was going to take him on his money. And then they're trying to say, oh, yeah, why don't you go to Sevilla want you, or this one want you? Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. because he had two reasons. He was on excellent money, and he wanted to stay here so his kids could get, at the time was a strong passport, a British passport. No. So he had no motivation to go anywhere else. But when he got on the grass, he still wanted it, and we see that. We see that in the 4 goals at Leeds. We see that in the hat trick at Millwall, where fans are trying to get around the bus to get to him and stuff like that. We see that from Ziggy, and he was brilliant. Again, when you see him, the character from outside, and you see this big 6'7" Serbian monster, you're like, oh, he's going to be. He was the loveliest guy in the world.
Gentle giant.
I think gentle giant, like literally, he used to act like really silly. He used to sit on the table with us. I don't know why he's ever on our table, but he used to have a phone connected to his mobile phone that used to, so it's a hands-free basically, but he uses, so it's like a general, like, hello. So he'd be on the phone. So I don't know if it's like a thing, like he's just more comfortable be on the phone speaking to someone back home on a call on his phone,
like an old school handset.
Yeah, like an old school handset, and it was just like, that's just the one thing. But yeah, easy money, big man. Yeah, that's what you say.
Because he's a character for probably different reasons. But I mean, even going into the Europa League, when you speak about the group and the mix of that squad, I was looking back at it this morning. It just feels like a really good mix and blend of like. So you go into that game against Nacional. Obviously, Redmond scores on his debut, and St Andrews. Did you just feel like he'd got the mix right from the very start with the characters alone?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I think when you're going to go for a promotion, I think the characters are just as important as the players, that the ability, because the characters, when those players with good ability start falling away, they'll keep them to their standards. They'll keep them adhering to those standards of training won't drop. Because you're having a bad time, don't sulk. Just do better in training. Do training better in training. You'll do better in the game. That's the good thing about having characters, because if you have 11, 12, 13 really excellent top players at that level, but they don't want to have a go at each other, they're all dancing around each other, a bit nicey. Yeah, there's certain players you need to put your arm around. Am I going to really batter into Nathan Redmond if he makes a mistake? No. I'm going to give him a couple of chances. Hey, Nath, any chance you? Then do you know what I mean? It's that
scared me
but there's a different way of doing things. So we had enough characters, like say, Steve Caldwell was actually the captain that year, but I was the other leader. So it's kind of like understanding that we've got leaders around the group. Then we had Berkey, who was the moaning leader. We had Specs that had obviously in the midfield, more of a calm leader. So we had leaders across the pitch. Marlon King, who, if you don't pass him the ball, he's going to rip your head off. But that's it. But you had that, but you understood and you knew the dynamic. But it's understanding that Marlon wanted to bite my head off because I didn't pass him a ball and he could have had a hat trick. But knowing when he sees you after the game, he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's understanding your role and what you bring to the group, but also trying to encourage other people to have voices. Try and encourage those young lads. Just because you're young, like you're part. If you're in the team, you're one of us. If I do something in training, have a go at me. Keep me on my toes. Tell me about a rubbish pass that I gave, and that's what I've always been like. Because I've always said to young lads, when you go into the first team, don't go there to make up the numbers. Go there to work. And if you go there to make up the numbers, you'll just be back with the 18s or 21s. If you go there to work and you treat it like you would your own session. And like I had a Jason Knight at Derby that comes and he was smashing people in training, smashing first team players, 600 games under their belt. He didn't care because it was for his future. Yeah. It wasn't for mine. And that's what I love about it. That's why I always say to young lads, when you come to work, not to make up numbers.
Just touching on that Europa campaign, you were working with the club at the time, weren't you? I did
the comms, but we didn't have a budget for me to go to the away game, so I never went to Bruges either. So it was.
Well, I was there.
You were there. I never even got there.
Well, can we touch on the Bruges night? Because I know you're in the stands, but we're coming. I always get my maths wrong, but we are coming up to 15 years since that Europa League campaign, and just because of the nature of it and maybe how Birmingham it holds a very special place in all of our hearts. I mean, the 5,000-6,000, well, probably 20,000 there without tickets. What were some of your touching on that game? I mean, Pablo Ibanez, I think, swallows his tongue, doesn't he?
Well, he got knocked out. So again, they were there trying to stop him from swallowing his tongue. So yeah, it was just madness. It was just chaos because obviously I was fuming I weren't playing. But then once the game gets off, it's like it's a really good game, and the game itself was taking off. I'm thinking this is a top Belgian team. We're a championship team, and we're going toe to toe with them. So again, really enjoying the game, and then obviously you get towards the nitty gritty towards the end, and then Pablo gets knocked out. So then I'm running down the tunnel to see to him, kind of being a leader, and want to see what he's doing, and checking he's okay. and then get there and kind of, they're all surrounding him, make sure that he's all right. And then it's like, yeah, he's okay, blah, 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 get the okay. And then because you don't want to run back into the stands, we're watching it in the tunnel. And then you see, and then obviously Woody scores and it's like, we're all jumping around going mental. But it was just like being in the atmosphere in the city, in the first and foremost, we're just leaving the hotel, going for a walk. Like the city was lovely, but then Blues fans everywhere, like brilliant, obviously having a good old drink there, which you can do in Bruges. And then, it was just amazing, the atmosphere. And then afterwards, fans surrounding the bus, it was unreal. I was just gutted that I wasn't on the pitch for it. Yeah. Joe, when the mad celebrations were happening, I can't remember who was in the tunnel, we were hugging each other and all that, but being out there on the pitch, having that emotion, that like last minute goal, would have been brilliant.
But how do you reflect back on that Europa League campaign specifically in terms of, we know how the season finished, but do you look back on it with fond memories in terms, out to Maribor and everything like that?
It was amazing because I was fortunate enough to have played in the competition before. But going there with Blues and like I said, being a championship team, almost with a free hit.
Yeah.
But actually, the free hit turned out that we finished with 10 points. I think it's I don't know up to now, because obviously the group stages have changed, but I think it's the highest points that anyone's ever been knocked out with, because we're on the same points as others, but due to the head-to-heads and stuff like that. But what we've been led to believe since is the 4-3 where Bruges beat Maribor was meant to have been investigated for match fixing.
Really?
Because we always thought that was weird, that they were 3-0 up. There was about 20 minutes left. They lost 4-3. So I believe, I'm sure there was a story about something had been investigated.
Anyway.
No, but I'm sure I read something about it was investigated for match fixing, which would have meant, shall we sue UEFA to try and get back in?
I'm just thinking there's a podcast in this.
No, but I'm sure there was something to do with that, because we were watching, because I think that might have been the night of Bruges. Yeah, it was. So we were watching it in the time. We're like, 3-1, buzzing. We go, I think at my time might have gone top even. Yeah. It was like, so you're watching it and you're like, 3-2, they got one back. 3-3, you're like, oh, flipping out. And 4-3, like, come on, what's happened there?
Dodgy, yeah.
And but I don't know. We'll have to.
Bonus was disappearing before your
No,
eyes.
but it was. Joe, what bonus? No, didn't come into my mind at all. It's just enjoying the ride. As much as the fans were, like the chance to play against these top teams, to pit our strengths as individuals, as a group, against top teams. Like I say, like you're playing against Bruges, you're playing against like
Braga. Like Nuno Gomez.
Yeah, like Braga, like you got top players, international players in their team. I think of going to Braga. It still haunts me where they scored the deflected goal, came off of me. Ziggy misses the penalty to put us 1-0 up. I scored a deflected goal come off of me. Similar goal, and again I always remember, but similar goal to what we conceded against Blackpool. Because came off of me, deflected, goes the other way. But yeah, like things like that. Like you think like we were well in games. We were right up there. We weren't lucky. You can't get lucky over 6 games to get 10 points. Yeah. And, just the thought of if you'd got to the next round, could you have played an even bigger side and see how far you go? But it wasn't meant to be, but it allowed us to focus on our league form a little bit more and obviously push on with that. Yeah,
so that push on does happen, doesn't it? Because the league form wasn't terrible, but it was patchy, wasn't it, in terms of with the Europa League games? But after Christmas or just a bit before, I mean, it was an absolute unbelievable run. We speak about it on Blue Rising in terms of the run that the men had this year. But did you just feel real momentum as soon as you hit your stride?
Yeah, I think sometimes the Europa can be a reflection of that, because having, like I say, if you're a Nathan Redmond, a young lad, then you're coming into... He's obviously played games for Blues before in the Cup and in the Premier League, but not really started many games. But if you've just started games in Europe against like international opposition, you'll be thinking to yourself, well, I did this against this guy. He's played 5 games for Portugal. Why can't I do this to this championship right back? And I think that's what gave us almost like an inner belief that we've been juggling games here and there, but we're still holding our own. But then now we've just got this one focus, and all of a sudden he's now 10 foot tall, because not only has he had games, but he's had games against top opposition, and he believes in himself more. Because Nathan Redmond was never cocky. His ability was cocky.
Yeah.
But it gave him a chip on his shoulder to say, I'm gonna rinse him today. And I used to say it to him, you're a game winner. Like you're special. Like you go and rinse him. Do what you want.
Accelerated his confidence levels, didn't it?
Because we had players that'll back him up. Don't worry, Specs will be there to cover your space if you need it. You know what I mean? Or Morgaro Gomez will come across and cover. Indai. Like we've got people to cover you. So it was all about the confidence that the group had, and that's what pushed us on, and just the belief in each other, and again that happy feeling of knowing that if you're not playing today, in 2 or 3 games you're going to get a game again, because the gaffer was like that. He's still very much rotated, particularly with the midfielders. We had Endor, we had Magaro Gomez, we had obviously Specs. Between those 3, they're all quite similar in terms of the way they wanted to play. So he'd always obviously rotate them, bring one in, bring one out, and it just makes sure that everyone was on their toes and allowed us to push on.
So we get to the end of the season, it's playoffs.
Yep.
After a fantastic run, did you feel like we were that side going into the playoffs? That normally it's the 6th place team, but I think we finished 4th, didn't we? But we were the ones with the momentum and the real drive.
I think we did to an extent. I think there's. You always feel confident. You always feel confident in yourself. So if you've made it that far and you've stayed up and around it for that much of the season, you got to believe in yourself. It's different. Listen, I understand people say, Sunderland in the year before's playoffs, like I think they lost 4 of the last games of the season, and they were the worst team in all 3 games of those playoffs. They went up, so it doesn't really make a difference. It's just about getting over the line in 3 games, and that's what you try and do. And then, unfortunately for us, it was just it was a task too much against Blackpool, which really, again, when things really haunt you, it's like again the goal away from home where Incy deflects it off of myself, goes in. We come back to our place 1-0 down, which you think not a problem, but the manner of the 2 goals we conceded to go 3-0 down were horrendous. And again, that still haunts me to this day. Like, it's just little things that haunt you. But once we got one back with Ziggy, and then I scored the 2nd goal. I
think I've told you before, but honestly, probably top 3 loudest St Andrews ever been when I've been there.
But it's still a moment. It didn't actually count for anything. It's I scored in the FA Cup final, it didn't count for anything. But it's one of those moments where I watch it now and I still get tingles, because it was like I knew my emotion at the time. Like I was fuming, I was furious, and it was like. But my big thing was stay on top of them, because they'd started making substitutions. They'd taken Davies off, taken strikers off. They'd put on Keith Southern in midfield. Basically just packed out the.
They were holding on.
The defence, they're holding on. And I was looking over at Chris saying, keep on him. And Chris is like, whoa, calm it down. And I think we missed a trick. I think we should have been more just in their face. Literally any set piece, put it in their box. I was winning every header. I scored 3 goals against Blackpool that season, coincidentally. So it's like they know I'm a threat. They're going to be worried. Keep on him. And Chris wanted to be a bit more pragmatic at that time, because I think we still had 20 minutes left. But yeah, I think we could have done with just going for the throat and keep going. Listen, if we had lost 4, who cares? I would have.
Again, it's a cup final, isn't it? It's still it's semi-final, but you've got to go on and win the game. And like you say, once they start to back off and protect what they've got, that's sometimes where you think, exactly as you're saying, let's go and get these, because we've got nothing to lose here. Yeah,
and that's why it was a frustration, but you still have to then go to the final and win it. And obviously, West Ham were a strong side, so that would have been a tough game. Obviously, we held our own against them in the season, but yeah, that would have been a tough game. So you never know, but it's just a shame we couldn't get over that first hurdle.
Just in terms of, obviously throwing things for, we might have to look at things for Europa League with this match fixing thing, so we might have a claim for the trophy. But in terms of that group, if we had achieved promotion with Chris Hughton and those players that were all around you there, do you think we'd have had a real sort of good go that following season?
If I'm being honest, I think we would have needed a lot of recruitment. Yeah. Because listen, and there is a massive difference of getting out of a league and then staying in another league. Whilst we had know-how, we had, so for instance, myself, I'd played in the Premier League. Steve Caldwell played in the Premier League. Pablo Jimenez had played for Spain in the Euros and stuff like that, in the World Cup. So we had players that know how, but you still need those sprinklings of X factor. Your Nathan Redmond could have been a starter, I think so, because front players it's a little bit easier. But I think we would have needed a bit more of a solid base, be it through our midfield and for our defensive work, to make sure that we were going to be able to stay up and take the next step, which I think the club would have done. I think Chrissy would have probably looked at, but we still would have known within Ziggy and Marlon King, we've still got people that if you give them a chance, especially Ziggy's physicality and Kingy's a finisher, give Kingy a chance, he'll make it work.
Would you say Nicola Ziggett's 4 goals at Ellen Road is the best individual performance in football history?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because it's Ziggy. But yeah, that was unreal. Just he was brilliant. Like I say, just at times in the season where he's frustrated. We had all the strikers. We had Adam Rooney, we had Marlon King, we had Ziggy, and we had Woody. And obviously Woody was scoring a lot of goals. Marlon was scoring a lot of goals. Runes would come in now and then, maybe for a bit more of a physical game. But he was still scoring goals. Even Woody had to leave in the end because he felt he wasn't getting the game time he wanted. So that's where we were at, and it was frustrating for Ziggy, but it was easy money, big man. Do you know what I mean? Like he was still wanted to play, still frustrated.
He was getting a pay rise, whatever happened at the end of the year.
Well, that's it. But that's what I said. But he was getting a pay rise whether he was in the stands or not. But he still wanted to play.
Yeah.
People need to realise that he still had a hunger to play. He still wanted to be out there. And then when he got that chance against Leeds, it was brilliant. To score 4 goals at Ellen Road, like silence that crowd, was amazing. Yeah, really, really good for him, and yeah, just so impressive on the night.
So the season finishes, and then we go through another managerial change.
Yeah.
When do you start first hearing the rump? Like, how do you finish that season? Like, what's been told for you of how that's next season is going to happen?
So basically, the long and short of it is, I booked to go to Vegas straight after Blackpool.
As you do.
Because my head was gone.
Well, you didn't fancy Blackpool because that is Vegas at the north, really.
Yeah. So my head was gone. So I've got my best mate Brucey. He was like my wingman. So he was like the one that I could speak to his boss and get him time off work, basically. So I said, this is Wednesday night. We lost the game. I said, we're going to Vegas tomorrow.
This isn't Alex Bruce speaking to Steve.
No.
Bruce,
This is my mate Joe Bruce. So I'd basically just said to him, like, we're going to Vegas tomorrow. He's like, what? Like, check with work. And then I spoke to him, end up going on a Friday. So we went on Friday till the Monday, just because my head was gone. Whilst I was in Vegas, so sorry, actually, it wasn't that time. It's the next time. Whilst I'm in Vegas, the next time I went, 2 weeks later. The actual one I'd booked. Chris Hughton rings me. He says, Kurt, just wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for me. What you've done for us this season, you're brilliant. I really appreciate all your leadership, the stuff you put in. Shame we couldn't go over the line. But obviously I've made the move to Norwich, blah, blah. I want to bring you with me. So here's me. I'm thinking, obviously I got in the PFA team of the season. I'm thinking, well, Chris, I've got a lot of respect for him and got a great relationship with him. I might go to the Premier League. And then it was one of them where, again, I kind of wanted to let it rumble. I didn't want to kick up a fuss. I wanted to let things rumble and see where the club were at, what they wanted to do. And
you're in Vegas anyway, so
yeah,
it's like,
I was kind of,
I'm not going to make a decision in Vegas, surely.
But that's it. But in terms of when I came back, it was never a thing where I was like knocking on the door and saying, I want to go there. I just let it rumble. And if something happened, something happened. If it didn't, it didn't. And then I stayed the year with Lee Clark, and it was different. Let's put it that way. It was a totally different vibe.
Was part of that as well, like, obviously, you want to progress your career. It's such a short span in the whole window, but was part of it maybe in the back of your head, knowing what you'd gone through at Villa, and then you had the sort of Leicester at Blues. You're playing week in, week out. You're going to probably get back to the Premier League, but you want to make sure it's the right move.
Yeah, that's it. I think if you go into a Norwich, they were a lower Premier League team, and you'd think you'd have a chance of playing. And the fact that it was a manager that I trusted and knew and had a really close relationship with, I would have backed him to have done that as long as I was doing my job. So that side of it was one thing. I think it's also almost feeling like you're missing out on time, because I felt I was a Premier League player, having had a year without playing, and then you go to the Championship for 3 months with Leicester. Then you go to the Premier League with Blues, but end up playing. I played 6 games for Blues in that Premier League, but 4 of them were a sub. So it kind of like you feel like you're missing out on those Premier League years that I want to show that I'm at the top level. But again, I wasn't gonna kick up a fuss. I was happy here as a club. I had no issues with the club, and I enjoyed it. And ultimately, when Clarkey came in, we hoped we could have another go, but unfortunately, it just never materialised.
Was that a result of the ownership at the time and lack of investment, or?
Well, yeah, we sold Jordan Much. He went. Nathan was still there. We bought in the likes of, Rob Hall came on loan, Ravel Morrison came on loan. But I think the biggest factor was Lee compared to Chris. And I had a great relationship with Clarkey. I really got on well with Clarkey, and I understood him. But I'm a more hard-nosed, as much as I'm still relatively young. I was 26 at the time, 27. I'm more hard-nosed in terms of the way I've been brought up in football.
Yeah.
So when Clarkey has a go, when Clarkey shouts, I'm getting motivated by it. Got some young lads that are going under a bit. So I think the group we had, and again, some of the ways that Clarkey was, not just around the game, maybe caused people a little bit of
There's a big difference in character, isn't there, between Lee and Chris?
Yeah, 100%. Like Clarkey's very emotional. Like I can use as an example. So we lose to Blackburn at home, 2-1. Jordan Rhodes scored a late goal, where we'd been the better team most of the game. And understandably, you come in and you're frustrated, you're angry that we've conceded. But overall, the picture of the game is, where we were a better team. So it's like, you need to have the context of, lads, come on, flipping hell, you throw that goal away, you're a better team. That's where it should be. Clarkey came in, he was throwing food, throwing the shakes and everything, and he ended up upsetting one of the sports scientists. Like, not like just because he's done his job, he's tipping it all away. So it's like, looking after him too much. There's sports, they're giving them their drinks and all that. Like, there's shakes. Let's get our shake after the game, all that. I'm like, well, he's just done his job.
Yeah.
Like, so if he hasn't done that, then I've got a problem. But in fact, he's done his job and you've thrown it on the floor. So that side of it, but very emotional. And then I kind of spoke to him and he went and apologised. Not right there and then, but I spoke to him and said, Gaffer, like, you're going to lose him. Like, he'll go under, like, because he was relatively new. And fortunately, he went and he spoke to him and he apologised, which was great because to know that I've got the relationship with the manager, he would almost listen to me on that. But also the fact Gaffer's got the humility to say, yeah, I was wrong, I'm a hothead, and did it. Then there's the other side of the Gaffer where we get absolutely battered at Brighton. So after the 5-0 Barnsley game, the Gaffer had me on the bench for 2 games. When I came back, I had a slight tweak in my ankle, and I had me on the bench against Forest. I was fuming, and we drew 2-2, and then he had me on the bench against. Was
the Barnsley one the Craig Davies?
Yeah,
one?
Barnsley. Yeah, it was Barnsley, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Barnsley. No, it was. Yes, I was on the bench for that. Yes, it was Barnsley. Yeah, so that was it. So then he had me on the bench, and I was fuming. Obviously, then he brings me back in for the Brighton game. And then in the Brighton game, we get battered for 90 minutes. We win 1-0. But instead of being like, listen, lads, like dogged performance, he's like, comes in, he's like, that's the kind of performance I want. That's what's going to get us to the top. And I'm like, it's really not, Gaffer. Do you know what I mean, Joe? Like, but that's how he was. He was really emotional, whereas Chris was more, take it all in. He'd be very monotone, win, lose or draw, unless someone does something stupid that causes a goal, like a Cruyff turn in your 6-yard. So like, he's very monotone. Whereas Clarkey was either there or there in terms of like, his voice is always going to be loud, but it's either going to be on a positive side or a negative side. And I think that's where some of our younger players couldn't really shake off the fact that it's not personal to them. It's just, that's Clarkey's way of dealing with the game. And I think that's why, I think we ended up finishing 10th that season or 12th, or I don't know, but it wasn't anywhere near what we wanted to do. Having had that chance, the year before the playoffs, to try and kick on again, it just never materialised.
I think sometimes, though, I've played for managers that are either overly aggressive or overly soft.
Yeah.
And there's no in between. No. There's no middle ground. And it's different. It's difficult for players and the dressing room as a whole to almost generate that medium mood.
Yeah.
Because it's either there or it's there. And I always found that difficult, particularly as a senior player, because you're almost looking after more players than you're looking after yourself.
I was just about to say that you're managing the group, because as the Gaffer has a go at him, you're coming over saying, listen, you did that wrong, but fuck me, you were brilliant. Do you know what I mean? All the little things.
Yeah.
Like, you have little, like, not that you're undermining the manager by any means, but I understand the manager. So I'm able to then go and say, listen, yeah, he's right, you did make that mistake, but flipping hell, pick yourself up. Like, you've been brilliant for the last. So always, like, giving that little bit of context, like, say, that's what leaders should do. You should be dotting around, win, lose or draw. In wins, I still want to be going around and saying, yeah, you were brilliant for that bit, but I'd still need you working back, helping the left back, or I still need you doing this. It needs to be that balance. And like I say, if you don't have that balance from the manager, it needs to come from that leadership group. Unfortunately, like I say, we had Robbo had been added to the group. We had, obviously, myself, Stevie Caldwell still there, that, again, had that kind of edge to us that we're able to contextualise things for players as well.
How do you look back on the 2.5 years? Because, like we said at the start, there's so much that's gone on during that time, good, bad and ugly. As you sit here today, how do you look back on it all?
I loved it. I honestly loved it. Again, having come from the other side of the city, I was almost not vilified, but when we get relegated, it's always look at the person from the other side of the city first and foremost, and kind of got a bit of stick. Which, listen, I wasn't.
I'd like to apologise.
Yeah, no, but
sorry, mate.
that's it. I wasn't necessarily at my best in certain games when I did come on or play, but again, my head was all over the shop. But to have won them around and to have gone on and played over 100 games for this club in that short time, you can't help but not feel it and feel like, and like I say, I think there's different ways that when you speak about football clubs, it's like at this football club, when you're one of their own, you fully belong. Whereas I think at other places, even if you're in the team, you could end up being a forgotten man because of what their expectancies are. Whereas I think with this club, although we had expectancy in terms of wanting to get promoted and wanting to go up, the main expectancy is show your heart on the pitch, give everything you've got, put your body on the line. And I feel I embodied that with the fans. So I think that's what allowed me to win them round. But yeah, I loved every minute of being here. And it's just a shame that we couldn't get that promotion and get the team back up.
Dukey said something the other week that made me reflect. I'd never thought of it before. And bear in mind, it's 20 years ago since I was a Blues player. But he said, nobody's ever a Blues fan. You're always a big Blues fan.
Yeah.
You're a mad Blues fan. You're not just like,
Casual.
I support Birmingham City. And I think that's why the players that work as hard as they do for the badge are the ones revered by the supporters. Yeah. I know you say that to me all of the time, but...
Well, I take the piss, but I generally do mean it. So I think it sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? And like you saw the good, bad and ugly of it, like we said, of like in the hard times we're there, away support, going out for all those European adventures. I'm sure that extra support really helped on.
Oh, it does. And like I say, when you're a championship club, it should all be doom and gloom, but you've got, like I say, thousands in the stadium, outside the stadium, around the streets. You can't go without seeing a blue shirt as you're walking around Bruges. Like, that just sums up, like, they could really be sulking and be like, we should have been in the Premier League. I'm not supporting them in Europe. They just embraced it. They enjoyed the journey. And even though it fell short, they still loved every moment of it. There was no kind of like, oh, you should have got through. You should have got that extra point here. No, it's all just, we enjoyed the ride. Unfortunately, it's come to an end. Hopefully in the future, we can have another one as a Premier League, in the Premier League and potentially as a cup winner again. But we're waiting for those years to come soon, hopefully.
Well, let's just touch on that just very finally. Obviously, I love it when you're on our screens. I think you give something different from that punditry angle. We've seen you at St Andrews a few different times. What have you made of Blues under Chris Davies? Obviously, we mentioned Erin earlier, so you have that insight as well. But what do you make of Blues going into this upcoming season?
I think with Chris, again, there's the inside part of me that knows people in and around the club and knows what's going on, and there's the outside of me that watches the team from the outside. So I think first and foremost, absolutely ran away with League One, which I think was a blessing and a curse for Chris, because he's clocked it. In your first season in football, I've clocked it. I've got the record points. I've done and listen, we had to get promoted because the squad we'd assembled, the money we'd spent, if we didn't, it would have been doomsday. So we had to get promoted. So I give Chris the credit for the job, but he had to do that job. This year we were more hopeful of getting promoted. Now, hopeful means, yes, we had a really good season last year, but based on the squad we've got, that's why we're hopeful. Not because we did well in League One. Based on the squad we've got, we should be hopeful. I think what Chris struggled with, having watched the first game of the season and seeing us against Ipswich, who were the ones that were relegated, so we'd gone up, they'd come down. I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves. But having seen as the season went on, I think Chris just struggled with the emotion of losing. And that, he might be able to tell me different, and obviously he'll have his own opinion.
Just so it's almost a verdict of his success previously, his first managerial job. But I think he adapted. The more the season went on, he adapted to that.
That's it. Because I was trying to explain to people at Sky, I'm like, well, you've got a guy that lost 3 games all last season. He's lost 3 in the last 5. I said, so he's going to be scrambling. The million thoughts in his head that he had over the course of a season, he's had them in a 5-week period. Yeah. So I said, so you've got to understand, this is his first time of learning this side. So I think Chris, personally, my thoughts on it, he will be a much better manager for the certain failures of this season. The season wasn't a failure, but the certain failures and certain things, because I think in-game, when he changes things, he'll be less emotional. approaching games, he'll be less emotional and less tied to, we have to do this, I have to do that. I think he would have learned a lot about himself, a lot about the team. But I also think, depending on where the club want to go with the recruitment, I think, again, from the agency side, from the punditry side, everything, and I hate to compare us because us at Sky, we always try and do it. We compare us with Wrexham because of the Hollywood derby. You know, it's never been a derby, but because of the two owners and stuff like that. What they did is they went out and they got championship-ready players. They went and recruited, you know, the Doyle, the Dominic Hyams, the Kiefer Moores, the Josh Rindasses, tried and tested in the championship. That allowed them to only on the last day get knocked out of the playoffs, which, again, they still got knocked out, so they're still in the same position as we are, but they had a better run at it because of that kind of know-how. I wonder if we're going to tweak anything where there will be a slight element of more tried and tested. British knows the league, knows the way of the league, because what we have is a load of good individual players, but maybe we're not in a position to allow 6 to 12 months to allow that player to flourish, because by the time that 6 or 12 months come, we're probably going to replace them. So that's the thing, right? We want promotion now. You know, Tom Wagner's spoken about it. He wants promotion yesterday. You know, that's the way he is, and that's the way he wants to work. But if you're going to do that, what I spoke about, the dressing room, the changing room, the know-how, the voices, they're the ones that get you over the line more so than the individual ability.
But the baseline for me in that dressing room has been taken higher now.
Yeah.
So you're not starting from the bottom, you're starting from a middle ground where you can now add, and it's something that I've said quite often, you know, I remember the Middlesbrough game at home, we were out championship by Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
It's just knowledge of how to win games in the championship. I think we're in a position now, because we've raised the base level of that squad, that we can bring 3-4 of those players exactly 100%. That you're talking about. Exactly the same as the teams that get promoted out of the championship need to acquire Premier League players. I think that's what we do, and I've been saying that for quite since the window shut, really. But I think the squad's in a place where that's all we need.
Yeah.
Whereas the start of last season, we needed a lot of players.
Yeah.
And they brought a lot of players in.
Yeah. And
so for me, we're in a good place to now go and handpick those players.
And that's it. And what you're speaking about, bringing in a lot of players, full stop. Even if you bring in 10 proven championship, even if they've had promotions, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to gel straight away. Absolutely. You know, at different times we were bringing in people, we're bringing in some in January, bringing in some in obviously the summer window. It's not necessarily going to gel straight away. But I think, like I say, that base of know-how and that takes you a very, very long way in terms of getting a promotion.
Last one, I promise. One name from your 2.5 years here. Who do you think would be a great guest to sit in that chair? You might not like him, you might love him, but a great...
It has to be Ziggy. Easy money, big man. Ziggy is the one, because again, you'll see a totally different side. He never did interviews, never did anything, but if you see him and you get him to just sit here and relax with his big legs, probably have to put on the table.
Get the phone out.
Yeah, but that's it. But just ask him a few of these stories, because he was honestly such a great guy. Like I say, he's earning unbelievable money, and we knew that. But he was never big time. He was always one of the group with the young lads, with the Nathan Redmonds and the Ravel Morrisons, with the Mees and the Caldwells. He was the same person. And I think he'd be a really good one, just because, again, he'd be a bit more alternative. And he could maybe shed some light on that contract, that golden contract that he signed.
Hey, now that's a podcast in itself.
Yep.
Love that. Curtis, it's been great to chat to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, gents. Thank you.
Top man.